you, cherished viewers. Thank you for always choosing yours. Truly, WoezorTV. As usual, as we always say, we go all out for you. I am Karen. Now you quoted. This afternoon, we bring you the live streaming of the state visit to the Republic of Ghana by the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is visiting the Republic of Ghana. He is the president that took over discussion at the Pediase Lodge tomorrow, hopefully. And so we cross over to take over the live feed from the airport.
For a 3-day state visit. As we speak, all is set. We have a number of dignitaries who have already arrived, and they will be part of the welcoming party to receive the President of Zimbabwe. A while ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama arrived to be the lead of the Ghanaian delegation to welcome him. So in short, it's His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, who has been received by the Chief of Staff, Mr. Julius Debra, the National Security Coordinator, and other officials. So the President will be in the waiting room here at the Jubilee Lounge, and we expect that in the next few minutes the special flight which will be bringing in the Zimbabwean president will touch down. So in short, I'm sure that's the arrival of the Zimbabwean president. As soon as he alights from the plane, he will be received by the president. Obviously, a flower girl will be there. This is a special 3-day visit. The understanding we have is that he's coming in with a large delegation, about 50 to 80, I'm told, representing various sectors of the economy, i.e. trade, education, tourism, health, etc., environment and sanitation. Because as part of a 3-day visit, we'll be visiting some health at a health institution. You'd also be visiting waste management site. Zimbabwe, you would have known, over years of sanctions under then President Robert Mugabe, has gone through a lot of challenges. After the democratic election, when he exited power, I believe this country is working very hard, liaising with countries which have track record and have been able to succeed in terms of democratic governance, to partner them, to share experiences, to sign agreements, i.e. bilateral agreements in some areas of interest, mutual benefit for the two. So this afternoon there will be a guard of honor. He will be alighting from the plane. He will inspect the gunner. I understand there will be a 21 gun salute in his honor, after which he will retire to his hotel. While we wait for the formalities to be concluded for him to step out of the plane onto the tarmac here at the Jubilee Lounge of the Accra International Airport, I want to say good afternoon to all of you who have joined this live broadcast on WoezorTV, and of course on the social media handles of the presidency, where we'll bring you all the footages, everything that will be happening this afternoon. The of the Guard of Honor will obviously be inviting the President, His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, to inspect the guard. This will be the formalities. The national anthems of the two countries will be played. President Mahama, who will lead Ghana's delegation, will welcome him. He will introduce him to a few top government officials, service chiefs, who will also be represented here, members of the diplomatic corps, some representation from the Zimbabwean community here in Ghana, and a few officials who are traveling with the Zimbabwean president will all be lining up in a few minutes from now to welcome the Zimbabwean president. The officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led by the sector minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, are also going to be here to be part of the welcoming party. Zimbabwe has had a very long relationship with Ghana. Our relations date as far back as last 60 years. The late Robert Mugabe and the likes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, etc. These those days were seen to be the leaders of the freedom fighters fighting for the liberation of Africa, fighting for the independence of the African continent as one entity, where bilateral trade between countries or intra-trade among these countries was what was supposed to leverage on empowering Africa as a continent economically, and of course in terms of all other areas of interest to the global community. And for many of you who have joined us, you would remember that many people have associated Zimbabwe with Ghana because of the wife of then late Robert Mugabe. But His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was in short a while ago, and I'm sure that signifies him coming out to step closer to the plane to officially receive the president of Zimbabwe, who is going to be here for the next 3 days. So His Excellency President Mnangagwa will be here, and I'm sure we will be giving you live broadcast of some of the engagements. Tomorrow, for example, there will be bilateral talks between the two sides to be held at Peduase Lodge. It's also expected to visit the Ghana-Sweden Medical Center. You would also be visiting the compost plant at Ajin Kotoku, which is one of the facilities managed by Jospon Group. And in short, are some of the officials who have lined up waiting to have the handshake when His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama goes closer to the plane to receive the visiting Zimbabwean president, His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa. So while you are watching this, let me remind you that we are broadcasting live from the Jubilee Lounge of the Kotoka International Airport. Ghana and Zimbabwe's relations in terms of economic engagements, even if you go back as early as the 80s, when Ghana supported Zimbabwe's independence struggle, and the two countries established diplomatic ties, Ghana opened an embassy in Harare. President John Dramani Mahama on the red carpet, beaming with smiles in Fugu. You know, Wednesday has been declared by the tourism minister as Fugu wearing day. Let me just paraphrase it this way. And John Dramani Mahama, after the interesting engagements we had with our friends in Zambia, has always decided that it should be part of our fabric, and many Ghanaians have bought into this. So His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will be with the flag girl to receive the Zimbabwean president. The two countries signed a general cooperation agreement in June 2023, and in March 2026 the two countries have held the inaugural Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation in Accra to turn into concrete projects in the areas of trade, agriculture, mining, energy, tourism, education, and several more. If you look at business in terms of money exchanging hands through those who do investments or trade, it's not too encouraging from the perspective of many who expect that many of our African countries will be seen to be doing trade directly. But as you must have heard from His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on several international platforms, these engagements offer the opportunity for Ghana to leverage on AFTA. So in short, it's His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, stepping out one at a time, descending from the special flight onto the tarmac, where he will be received by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Director of State Protocol, Ambassador Abrakwa Akins, has just ushered him to the flower girl, who has presented a beautiful bouquet of flowers, an opportunity for this girl to have had a hug from the visiting president of Zimbabwe. So there, in short, the two leaders of two very powerful countries in terms of the historic antecedents of this continent. President Emmerson Mnangagwa, President John Dramani Mahama, in short, walking, exchanging pleasantries as they walk towards the line of dignitaries who take turns to have handshake or be introduced. I'm sure on the Ghana side we'll have His Excellency introducing our Foreign Minister Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, who is leading the set of top Ghanaian officials, including service commanders, who will be receiving His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa from Zimbabwe after taking the salute.
National salute!
Your Excellency. Guard of honor mounted by the Ghana Army. 3 officers, 96 rank and file, with the Armed Forces Central Bank in attendance, ready for inspection. Major Emmanuel Abugri Salifu reporting, Your Excellency.
And so the visiting president of Zimbabwe will now inspect the Guard of Honor. He was just invited by the commander of the Guard of Honor, who will lead him to inspect the guard. After the inspection of the guard, President Mnangagwa will return to the saluting days, where the national anthems will be played again. After this brief ceremony, he will be led into the lobby at the Jubilee Lounge by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, accompanied by a few officials from both sides. And normally at the presidential lounge here at the Jubilee Lounge at Accra International Airport, the two leaders will have a tete-a-tete, after which he will retire to his hotel. Later this afternoon, President Mnangagwa and his delegation will be hosted to a state banquet at the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel here in Accra. Tomorrow is a tall day for the visiting President of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, because they will spend most part of the morning into the afternoon by 2 o'clock at a bilateral meeting between the two sides. We understand that the two countries will be signing a number of bilateral agreements after that meeting. From there, he's expected to visit two facilities, one later in the afternoon on Thursday, and the second on a Friday morning before his departure. Earlier this afternoon, there was the performance by the Central Band of the Ghana Armed Forces, accompanied by 21 gun salutes as the anthems were being played, and that is part of the ceremony here at the Jubilee Lounge at the Accra International Airport, where we have just received the president of Zimbabwe. You would notice from the conversations that have been had on several platforms ahead of this arrival that we see Zimbabweans as our in-laws, because Robert Mugabe was one of the well-respected, very influential African leaders. They rubbed shoulders with the founding fathers of Africa, and Zimbabwe, until the violence that resulted in the exit of many of the whites who were occupying the fertile lands in Zimbabwe, to which extent UK and several other Western countries decided to impose sanctions on them in protest against the forceful seizure of lands. Zimbabwe used to be one of the flourishing economies on the continent. It has gone through series of challenges, and until the exit of Robert Mugabe, many people prayed that Zimbabwe will find itself back on its feet, and under the leadership of President Emmerson Mnangagwa, several of such visits, either to sister countries in Africa or to other Western or Asian countries is basically targeting how Zimbabwe can leverage on the mutual relationships, foster trade, boost the economy, tap into experiences, and improve the well-being of their people. And Mr. Mahama, the president of Ghana, stands tall. Let's take the anthem, and I will tell you more about the history between the two.
Your Excellency, inspection over. May I have your permission to carry on, Your Excellency?
And so the guard of honor is over. So President John Dramani, Presidential Lodge here at the Kotoka International Airport. So Accra International Airport has been the location where the President of Zimbabwe has been received. At this stage, the leader will be introduced to officials. His Excellency has just been received by the Chief of Staff Julius Debra. We have the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, the Health Minister Kobna Menta Kando. Also in short is the Minister for Interior. We have the National Security officials also represented here. I can spot the Minister for Tourism, which is going to play who is going to play a key role in this relationship between Ghana and Zimbabwe because of the potential Zimbabwe has. And of course, the traditional dancers will do it best, as we all know, when such high officials visit our country. Again, lined up there will also be officials from the Zimbabwe side who would also be introduced. So I see in there the conversation which continues. So our Director of State Protocol, Ambroka Akins, Ambassador, has just finished. So the Zimbabwean side has also taken over, introducing officials of the Zimbabwean embassy here in Ghana and other officials. So the two countries are both Pan-Africanist. They have Pan-African legacy. Zimbabwe's leaders have always looked at Kwame Nkrumah's exploits, who led the independence struggle, and Ghana backed what then was known as the Liberation Movement. Since that time, the two countries have had very strong historical relations with many of the Zimbabwean leaders we see today haven't come all that far to Ghana to attend a school to add on to their educational background qualifications. The trade remains modest. Ghana imported about just a little over 600 million cedis in terms of trade between Zimbabwe and Ghana, about 2.2 million cedis from Ghana into 2024, and with plans to expand through warehouses, sister city links between Kumasi, and then we also have the AFTA framework, which many people want to leverage on. So some members of the diplomatic corps represent the African community, for example, have also been here in their numbers to receive the two leaders. From here, the Director of State Protocol will escort President Mahama and President Mnangagwa to the President's lobby, where they will have a tete-a-tete. And after the tete-a-tete, the Zimbabwean president will retire to his hotel, and later this evening will be expected to join the state banquet in his honor at the Kempinski Hotel. So these traditional dances, typically reflecting the cultural heritage of the people of northern Ghana, are performing at the pleasure of the visiting Zimbabwean president. So they've just entered the Jubilee Lounge through the lobby to where His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will welcome him. And so I would also want to walk you through some other activities that will be involving this visit between now and Friday. The Peduasi Lodge is where the bilateral talks will be held. Tomorrow, after the conversations and agreements and the signing of bilateral agreements at the Peduasi Lodge, His Excellency President Mnangagwa will visit the Accra compost plant managed by Jospon Group, and then he would also visit the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, where he will be led through a guided tour at the mausoleum. He would also visit the Ghana-Sweden Medical Center. In short, Tourism Minister, Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of administration, Nana Oye Bampo Ado, cannot but dance to the rhythms and the tunes out there as we receive the President of Zimbabwe. So here the two leaders will do the usual photo opportunities for historical purposes, and will have their tete-a-tete. Again, the two countries will forever be working together to increase relations for the benefit of citizens of both countries. So this is how we will be wrapping up shortly. But in short, you'd notice that a certain number of Zimbabweans resident in Ghana, a couple of Ghanaians who have also come clad in their typical black star, the cheerleaders leading the welcome party here at the Jubilee Lounge at Accra International Conference Center. And shortly after the two leaders have had their tete-a-tete, we will show you how the Zimbabwean president will be exiting here at the Jubilee Lounge of the Accra International Airport. So out there, before the Zimbabwean president leaves here, where we are men and women, that's how I see them, gathered, singing, dancing, happy that we have such a very important personality with us. Many of us know that Zimbabwe is one of us. They have been our in-laws. And the two leaders, I believe, the opening remarks as they have their tete-a-tete will be making reference to the relationship Ghana has had with Zimbabwe over the past 60 years. I'll be telling you shortly about Zimbabwe. For many of you who don't know much about this country, it's one of the southern African countries. Zimbabwe is is rich with a lot of natural resources. It is also known as one of the countries with a lot of interest in tourism and has always been raking a lot of money. Zimbabwe has had a checkered history because of how many people believe they handled many of the whites who had technically settled there. Zimbabwe's story starts with pre-colonial kingdoms, Mapungubwe and the Great Zimbabwe from the 11th to the 15th century, a major gold trading state at the time. And Zimbabwe is, as we speak, also credited as one of the countries in Africa with a lot of rich resources, including gold. British colonial country at the time, it was under British colonization. In the 1890s, they created the Southern Rhodesia. Many of us who associate ourselves with history would understand how this Southern Rhodesia stood out then as one of the powerful kingdoms. The white minority rule led to the 1965 unilateral declaration rule led by the struggle which later saw the independence of Zimbabwe. But this was not what we know was a guerrilla war, followed with bad incidents involving the disaster that followed through the struggle. The Lancaster House Agreement, an internationally recognized independence Zimbabwe, was in 1980 under Robert Mugabe. Early health and education gains were later eroded by economic crisis, land reforms, and political turmoil. Then Robert Mugabe, president, ruled until 2017 and was succeeded by now President His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa. So that has been the checkered history of Zimbabwe, and today we are hosting the president of that country, and I believe that Ghana has a lot to tap into, especially when it comes to tourism and agriculture, where Zimbabwe stands tall. The land grabbing issues or the land tenure issues which resulted in the violence that saw the exit of many whites who were still in the minority at the time, saw the decline in Zimbabwe's economy, and thus has affected the people largely until 2017. Zimbabwe is still, though, one of the very influential countries in the country. In short, you would notice that the Director of State Protocol, Ambassador Abrakwa Akins, who has been leading the protocols here at the Jubilee Lounge of the Accra International Airport, is briefing the presidents of the two countries. I believe I will be taking a few instructions, and then the president will know the itinerary as he leaves the Jubilee Lounge here at the Accra International Airport. Ghana has been exporting cocoa, gold, oil, and other commodities, and importing machinery, electronics, and industrial goods. A zero tariff deal between Ghanaian exports and that of many other countries has been helping Ghana to revive its economy. I believe that the bilateral trade between the two countries would also be boosted, especially after the bilateral talks between the two countries. And so it's all about His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa's visit to Ghana. It's a 3-day state visit, and very shortly he will be leaving here, the Accra International International Airport, to his hotel. The last handshake, which is for the photographers, after this photo opportunity, the two leaders will step out, and President Mnangagwa will leave first. The convoy will lead him through the ceremonial streets here in Accra to his hotel. After that time, I believe that all other officials, including the large delegation accompanying him, would also follow. Inside the Jubilee Lounge, the beautiful artwork that is there, I'm sure the president, as he has always been doing, is helping him to appreciate all those cultural symbols which are of great significance to Ghana in terms of our beliefs. So these are some of the reflections that go through the minds of some of the VVIPs who come through the Jubilee Lounge of the Kotoka International Airport. So at this stage, the welcome ceremony is over. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is leading His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, President of Zimbabwe, out of the main building at the Jubilee Lounge here at the Accra International Airport. You'll be chauffeured right from here to his hotel to freshen up and join His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for around 5-6 p.m. thereabout at the Kempinski Hotel for the state banquet. Tomorrow morning, as early as 9 o'clock, the delegation of both sides will be meeting at the Peduase Lodge, a legacy of His Excellency Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president. A very beautiful edifice, serene environment for such talks, whole day morning till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. The leaders will be facilitating the bilateral talks, after which there will be the signing of several bilateral agreements. I understand it's about 5 of them. One will involve Jospon Group, which will be related to sanitation and waste management. From there, His Excellency Mnangagwa would also be led on a guided tour of the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. And then on Thursday, that will wrap up the day. You will have a private meeting hosted by the Embassy of Zimbabwe. On Friday, you will visit the Ghana-Sweden Medical Center, and from there, he will be seen off with a small ceremony at the Accra International Airport. So, as the visiting president's convoy leaves the Jubilee Lounge of the Accra International Airport, we will be drawing the curtain shortly as President Mahama waves. And we hope to come your way again later this evening at the state banquet to be hosted in honor of His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe.